Hello, YouTube. Just gotta wait to sync up. Okay. Okay, there we go. Alright, here we go. Alright, so a little late, but better late than never. Let's go. Close to end Act 3. Yeah. So basically, what's really left for me now is to, Oh, I got a like already? How do I have a like? Someone was nice today. That's alright. Okay, Aaron Gen's cottage. Okay, let's step away from the fireplace so I don't have to listen to it the whole time. And, yeah, let's get started.
What can Tommy do for you?
Alright, I just want to talk. What did you have in mind, my lord? Have you always been a rogue, Tommy? Funny you should ask that. I was an urchin on the streets of Calimport first and foremost, and that's where I learned me street smarts. But it wasn't always that way. In fact, when I was a tender young lad, a kindly human wizard saw great promise in me and took me in. I was his apprentice, in fact, for quite some time. That's where I met my best friend Sammy, after all. He was another apprentice. I would have been a full wizard myself if things had worked out. What went wrong? Well, you know, you can take the lad out of the street, but you can't take the street out of the lad. I wasn't much for books and studying and all. That wizard, what was his name? Halasar. Halasar? Yeah, he saw something in me that I never saw. Said I would make a wizard whether I liked it or not. Okay. I thought I would make a wonderful thief if I could be invisible and fly around all the time. I just couldn't wait. Halasar had all these pretty things in his tower, unfortunately. So you just stole them? Of course I stole them. What kind of a rogue do you think I am? Got a good price on the streets too, even if Halasar beat me black and blue by the time I returned. Once I swapped Halasar's spellbook and sold that for a pretty price. Boy, was the old man furious. There was a storm brewing around his tower by the time I got back. Of course, I had to lie and say that Sammy took the book. Come to think of it, that's how Sammy got kicked out of his apprenticeship. You got your friend kicked out? Well, he wasn't much of a wizard, and old Sammy wasn't my friend back then anyway. I made it up to him by becoming his pal later, once he stopped being an apprentice. Well, that's the thing, like, rogues can use magical items, right? Not sure what the lore of that is in Dungeons and Dragons, like why, I think bards can get it too, but yeah. So, like, if you're a rogue, you can use magical items by using a skill. So it's like, well, why can't everyone do that, right? Like, a fighter can't do that. Like, let me look. If I was to look at that, use magic item, yeah, you need training in that. So it won't show up for me because, like, how do I have these? It's because of my intelligence, right? Like, some things you need to be trained in. So, like, I started training in, yes, these requires training. So if I hadn't put any points into this, I don't think it would show up. But, yeah. So, let's continue. Yeah, the end of my apprenticeship is quite the story itself. I should tell you that sometime, if you're interested. That would be later, though. Right now, we got a city to save, right? That was pretty short. But I'm not going to complain. I got 6 henchmen's worth of stories to go through. Got some beverages here, so I'm all ready to go. Okay, just want to talk. I want you to continue your story from before. Was I telling a story? Alright, about the end of my apprenticeship with Halasar. Well, wizards are a funny lot, you know? No self-respecting thief would go poking his nose into places where it's sure to get cut off, but wizards run like moths into bonfires. Halasar was no different. He didn't want me to find out, of course, but I had a way of sneaking around his tower without him knowing. And I saw him summoning demons. Why would he be summoning demons? Why does any wizard summon demons? Power? Knowledge? Succubus booty? Who can tell? Maybe he needed a chess partner. Anyway, this demon seemed harmless enough. Halasar and it had some laughs, and it tickled the mage's belly until he was giggling like a schoolgirl. So after Halasar dismissed it and left, I decided I would call up this demon and see just how much riches he would give me. It didn't really seem like such a big thing at the time. Why would you think a demon could make you rich? Aren't they the ones that gave you 3 wishes after you rubbed their bellies or something? I never paid much attention to my studies, you know. So I read a bit of the wizard's book and summoned the demon, right? Well, the demon looks all surprised to see me, and he just laughs and laughs and laughs. I asked him, what's so damn funny, right? He says, why, you little one. He has this big booming voice, and all I can think is, boy, I'm gonna be so rich. So what happened? Well, I shout at him and demand that he make me rich, right? And he laughs again. So I say, he better make me powerful then, figuring maybe that's just as good. So he laughs again. Finally, he calms down and he says, okay, and gives me a magic wand. Says that will give me all the power I need, and poof, he's gone. Boy, that one got me into so much trouble. Well, I will tell you this. If I had magic as a kid, I would have been up to no good. Like, yeah, I'm not going to get into that. But, yeah, got you into so much trouble. Alright, what did it do? I'll have to tell you what the wand did sometime later, maybe. Let's just say Halassar wasn't happy about it. Anyway, I'm sure we've got more important things to do, right? Well, this is going by really quick.
What can Tommy do for you?
Like, the Act 1 and 2 stories were really long, but maybe I'm just getting faster. Okay, I want you to continue your story. Well, I guess there's no harm in it. It was a big mess, though. If you remember, the wee demon had given me a wand, eh? So after he left, I decided that it needed to be tested out. Uh-oh. Ah, exactly. It was exhilarating. The power at my disposal. I had my apprentice chores to do, and I decided the wand should do them for me. I animated a broom to do my bidding, and it began to clean the floors. I used the wand to make a bucket that never ran short of water. I made the tables walk, the cauldrons dance, the chairs four-step. It was marvelous. I waved my wand and everything came to life. So what went wrong? Well, the broom was the first problem. It began cleaning more than the floors. It started sweeping the shelves, knocking Halassar's components about, breaking things. I couldn't make it stop. In a panic, I hacked the room apart with an axe, but then both halves became brooms. I kept hacking, and suddenly the room was filled with brooms, and they were breaking everything. In my haste, I knocked over the bucket, and suddenly the tower began filling up with water. The table was attacking me. I couldn't do anything. The tower was being destroyed. Chaos, chaos. Oh, the humanity. And then Halassar came back. I can't imagine he was pleased. No, he wasn't pleased. He looked down at me all mad and disappointed. He was so scary I thought I'd pee my britches. He snatched the wand from me and broke it, and made all the madness stop. Oh, and he yelled at me. He practically threw me out of the tower and told me never to come back. Bright news is, I hear Halassar told some writer about it, and the writer thought it was so amusing, he made a play. Think it'll be a musical? That's horrible. Don't you feel bad at all? You know, I do feel a bit bad about the whole thing. Not for me. I knew I was no wizard. I feel bad for Halassar. He did treat me pretty good, all things considered. He had a bunch of rare components destroyed that night. Worst of all was these ashes, the ashes of a great warrior. They were for his longevity potion. I've always thought I should try to make it up to him one day. Find him those ashes, maybe. Unless he's gone and died of old age. I have these ashes of an Uthgard hero. Would they serve? Well, now maybe they would, at that. Let me think. Aye, I think that would serve for Halassar's longevity potion just fine. Thank you, my lord. Since you're such a friend, let me give you this. It's a powerful ring that I stole from Sammy way back. Maybe you can use it. Thank you, Tommy. It's no problem. Least I could do. It's the only thing I stole off Sammy that was valuable enough for me to keep. I'll send these ashes off to Halassar as soon as I get the chance. I wonder if they'll accept an apprentice at my age. You want to be a wizard now? Sure, why not? With some magic at hand, I could be the greatest thief that Caliport has ever known. Again. Haha. Let's get underway then, my friend. We'll find our words of power and put an end to evil, for even more adventure awaits us afterwards, I'm sure of it. Okay. Where's my ring? Ring of the Rogue +4. To give me +4 dexterity. That wouldn't be too bad, except I wear heavy armor, so kind of useless. But if you hang on to these, you can use them in other campaigns too. So eventually, there's 2 expansions. There's Shadows of Undertide and Hordes of the Underdark. Shadows of Undertide is the same as the first campaign, where you can't use your companion's inventory. Yeah, I won't let us do it. But in Hordes of the Underdark, you can. So saving up magical items for Hordes of the Underdark for when you get your stuff back is a good idea because you can give it to your companions. Alright, so on to the next one. Wailing.
Greetings and well met. It is good to look upon you once more. No doubt Aaron Genn has brought you here to aid in the search for the words of power.
It's good to see you again, Dalen Red Tiger. After Erebus' betrayal, I meant to travel the north in search of the quest to prove myself to my tribe. Yet even as we parted ways, I suspected we would meet again. We would meet once more. And then I heard of Aaron Genn's call for all those who would serve the cause of Neverwinter to join the Lord's Alliance here at Faerun as well, a holy place to the Youthguard. I thought it might be a sign from my gods. After all you've done for Neverwinter, I knew you would be here. That's why I came to join you once more. Join with you once more. I feel our fates are bound together. We'd be honored to have you join up with me again, Dalen. Then once more, my blade is yours to command. Okay.
Yes? Is there something...
Let's level him up. Let's take a look at him in this chapter. It's level 14, 26 AC. That's quite impressive. He can make use of his dexterity bonus because he's wearing hide armor. He's got 4 attacks. So he must have ambidexterity and 2 weapon fighting, yeah. So he's a pretty strong warrior. He doesn't have magical attacks though, so that's the thing. Grimnot has magical attacks, and that'll hurt enemies that can resist physical damage. Like, for example, I have a belt, right? This belt resists slashing damage. So any weapon that does slashing damage, I resist 20 damage. Right? So he does slashing damage. Some people are resistant to that. Whereas, like, I can't look at his thing, but he does blunt damage with his fists, right? So it's not slashing damage. So sometimes it does better damage than another weapon. That's why I have a hammer in a bag, just in case I come across that.
Yes? Is there something you need?
Okay, let's get away from that fireplace, because that crackling will slowly drive me mad.
Follow me, now.
Okay,
Yes?
I just want to talk for a while. Okay, I wouldn't mind knowing your thoughts on Erebeth's betrayal. Why do you think she did it? There's some who claim Erebeth betrayed Neverwinter out of grief. Others say she seeks to avenge Fenthic's death out of some perverse sense of justice. There are even those who say she was driven mad by Fenthic's execution and is not aware of what she's doing. But I think something else drives her now. What do you think her reason is? Neverwinter turned its back on her. The city rejected her and its people cast her out. There is no pain so great as being turned away by those you most want to take you in. What are you talking about? They never turned her out. Perhaps not, but Erebeth no doubt felt that they did. People blamed Fenthic enough to kill him. How could she not feel they despised her as well? And then Lord Nasher sent her to Port Last with Aaron Gent. It was obvious Lord Nasher wanted an excuse to send her away from the city. No doubt he thought it best to calm the people and keep Erebeth away from suffering their wrath as Fenthic had. But in her grief she would have seen it as a cold and brutal rejection, a symbolic banishment. Sounds like you think she was justified. I'm not saying what Erebeth did was right or even justified, but there is a tale among the Youthguard, an ancient legend of consequences and betrayal. Fenthic's execution and Erebeth's betrayal remind me of a tale of my own people. I only hope Neverwinter does not suffer the same fate as the Youthguard. And what fate would that be? Perhaps later I will tell you the tale, but now is not the time for me to speak of this. We must focus on finding the words of power for Aaron Gent if we are to save Neverwinter.
Yes? Is there...
Okay, let's talk. Okay, we should focus on finding the words of power for Aaron Gent, but I suppose I could spare some time to share with you the legend of my people I mentioned earlier. I want to hear it. In ancient times, all Uthgardt tribes were one, a mighty nation under the great hero King Uthgar. Our people were indomitable in battle. None dared stand against Uthgar when he wielded his great spear. It is said no weapon could harm him when he brandished the spear over his head. Go on. But against our greatness, the armies of our enemies massed. Goblins, oaks, ogres, and other creatures too foul to mention. A dark host marched forth from the mountains to battle Uthgar and his people. According to the tale, there was a young boy who desired nothing more than to be a great hero of the Uthgardt. When news of the invasion came, he swore he would join the ranks of men as a warrior. He was a mere child, not even a youth, and the warriors told him to stay with the women and infants. But the boy was brave and stubborn, and he would not accept this. What did the boy do? The night before the battle, the boy crept into Uthgar's tent and stole his magic spear. Then the boy marched out into the darkness to face the horde alone. But he was a child. He did not even know where he's going, and he soon became lost in the woods. In the morning, Uthgar woke to find his spear gone. He was forced to march against the enemy without it. The battle raged fierce and bloody, and many warriors fell before the enemy broke and fled. But even victory came with a terrible cost, for Uthgar, father of our people, was felled by an arrow through the eye. What about the boy with the spear? After many days, the boy found his way back to the camp. Those who saw him with the spear quickly understood what happened, and they blamed him for Uthgar's death. They cast him out forever, banishing him from the tribe. The boy fled, taking the spear with him. He had only wanted to prove himself a warrior. He had only wanted to help defend the tribe. His motives were honorable. But his actions had tragic consequences, and the Uthgar could not forgive him, just as Neverwinter could not forgive Fenthic. But the tale does not end there. Oh man, coffee time. I had a doctor's appointment today. Why I'm late with the stream, but it was a good visit. My niece was there with her daughter, so we had a visit with her, and my mom drove me. So yeah, I told my doctor about the YouTube channel. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing this, this, and this, and I'm talking to people, and we're playing games, and we're having fun and stuff like that. And he's like, great, man, so happy for you. You know, it's pretty good because like, when I first talked to him about YouTube, he didn't seem that interested in it. I don't think he really is, but he's supportive, right? So he's just like, yeah, okay, whatever. But, you know, I'm doing it now, right? So it's probably like a year or so ago when I decided, oh yeah, I'm going to make a channel. But I didn't know what I was going to do. So here I am, like all that time later, and he's happy to hear it, so great. You know, I'm not worried about it. So he's just like, do what you want, have fun, and don't take it too seriously. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, the tale does not end there. How does it end? The boy vanished. He was never seen again, and neither was Uthgar's spear, the symbol and source of the Uthgar nation's power and might. Without the spear, my people were vulnerable, and our enemies fell upon us. The great nation of the Uthgar was splintered into small tribes. Never again will we know the glory of our past. Had the Uthgar forgiven the boy, he and the spear would have remained, and the empire would have stayed strong. Had Neverwinter forgiven Fenthic, Erebeth might not have betrayed the city she loved. I guess I see your point. And then, that's not the same, Erebeth just run away. So it's either you can be understanding, or you can be a whiner, okay? Oh, what, you mean she did this? Like, this is why I love this game. Because it has Erebeth's betrayal, right? To see a paladin of Tyr, the even-handed, right? One of the most just gods in Faerun, right? To see her fall to a blackguard, and she's not even the main character. She's like, you're the main character, right? But she's like an important character in the story. That's why I always use her for the thumbnails, right? Because she's a really important part of telling the story. Like, if we didn't have Fenthic's execution and Erebeth's betrayal, like, the story just wouldn't be as spicy. Like, it would just be the same thing as always, like the hero's journey, right? And, like, the hero's journey's been covered in scholarly circles forever, right? There's too many stories like it. So, to have one of betrayal, right, mixed into it, to kind of make you think about your own status as a hero, it's really good. So, yeah, like, this is one of the things I enjoy about this game. And doing these Henchmen quests is really enjoyable because the characters are written really well. Like, it's not like Dragon Age Veilguard, right? Like, where they're all super young and they're all trendy. Like, you look at these characters and they're not the same, right? They're all different. And that's the best part about games with different races, right? It's the diversity. Like Elder Scrolls and Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer. There's so many different groups, right? Basically everyone that you can think of is represented. And this game is no different. But this is an old game, right? Newer games could take a hint from this game about developing characters. So yeah. Had the Uthgar forgiven the boy, he and the spear would remain. Okay, so I guess I see your point. There is a lesson in the fall of the Uthgar, a lesson Neverwinter would do well to heed. There is hope for the city yet, just as there is hope for the Uthgar. Hope? There is more to the legend of Uthgar's spear. Perhaps later I will tell you the tale, but now is not the time for me to speak of this. We must focus on finding the words of power for Erangend if we are to save Neverwinter. Okay.
Yes?
Let's talk. Okay, I promised to tell you the rest of the tale of Uthgar's spear when the time was right. That time has now come. As you know, I am on a vision quest to prove myself a true Uthgar warrior. Last night I had a vision to guide me on my quest. Tell me about your vision. I've seen the spear in my dreams. According to the legends of my people, the Uthgar tribes will never be united until the Uthgar spear is found. This is how I must prove myself worthy of my tribe. I must find Uthgar's spear, though I do not know where to look. Do not fear. As long as you seek the words of power, my blade shall serve you, and I am serving you. In serving you, perhaps I will find Uthgar's spear. I've come to believe it is the will of the gods that I stay by your side. You found my mother's brooch. You avenged her murder. I cannot help but feel as you are destined to help me in this as well. I have a spear here. Is this Uthgar's spear? If you've ever heard of Michael Jackson, you might have heard of Weird Al Yankovic, who's done a ton of spoofs of Michael Jackson's songs. And one of them is the song Bad. He calls it Fat. And in the beginning, the guy's like, they meet up with an old friend. They're like, oh, I haven't seen you on Burger World lately. And he's like, I think I got some pizza around here somewhere. He like pulls a piece of pizza out of his pocket. So I'm like, oh, I got a spear around here, right? No problem. Is this Uthgar's spear? Yes, this is the spear from my dreams. Uthgar's spear. Because of you, I can return to my people with proof my spirit is worthy of the Red Tiger tribe. I can never properly repay you for this gift, but please take this small token of my gratitude. It was a gift from my mother before she died. Thank you for this reward, Dalen. The talisman has powerful magical properties, though I know it's hardly a suitable reward for all you've done for me. Alas, the only thing I can offer you is my continued service. What are you going to do with the spear now, Dalen? I'll bring Uthgar's spear back to my tribe and present it to our council of elders. I have no doubt they will declare my spirit worthy of the Red Tiger tribe. I imagine my chieftain will summon an intertribal council so that all of the Uthgar tribes will know the artifact has been found. This is an event of great importance to my people. According to the legends, the return of Uthgar's spear heralds the return of Uthgar himself, to be born among our tribes. They say it signals a return to the glory of our ancient past. What about you? Cannot say for certain. Perhaps I will be hailed as a hero and showered with riches and honors by the chieftains of my people. Or perhaps I will simply be welcomed back into the tribe. The elders could allow me to take a wife and raise a son of my own amongst the Uthgar people. Either would be pleasing to me. I have proven myself worthy, and for the first time I feel truly at peace with my place in the world. I'm gonna miss you, Dalen. I long to return to my people and reclaim my place among my tribe, but I will not abandon you or break my promise to serve. As long as you have need of me, I will stay by your side and aid you in the search for the words of power. Only after they have been recovered will I return to my tribe. Yeah, let's have a looky. Yeah, the amulet of the Uthgar. Plus 4 strength is pretty good. If I combined this amulet with the fire giant belt, I'd have like over 20 strength. Spell resistance is new. Immunity to fear is also great. Fear makes you run away and you can't do combat. It's terrible. But I bought the golden circlet. I bought it in chapter 2. And it gives you immunity to mind-affecting spells. So that includes fear, charm, domination, daze, confusion. So this helmet does that and more, plus spell resistance. So great amulet, but it's just going to go to the last page, my collection page. Yeah, I got a belt of hill giant strength, but I'm using... This gives me slashing resist, and this gives me 3 natural AC. So I have 31 AC, which is really high for a player character. But yeah, so like if I wanted more strength, I could do that. But the only thing more strength is going to give you is more carry weight, which is great, but I have bags of holding. And more damage, which is great, but I have a magic sword that does fire damage. So, yeah. Alright, on to the next one. Body knock, Glinkle.
Hello, it is I, Body Knock Glinkle. It is good to see a friendly face in these unfamiliar surroundings.
What the? You again? I'm gonna have to get someone to cast a spell annoying little runt to get rid of you? What the heck? Who would write like that? You have to be a savage to talk to someone like that. It's good to see you again, Body Knock. I have to admit, I'm not surprised to find you here at Faerun as well. Given your previous record of service, it was only logical to conclude that you'd be among those recruited by Neverwinter's spymaster to aid his cause. That is partly why I chose to come here. I have found our previous experiences together to be very enlightening. We should join up again, Body Knock. I would be honored to join up with you once more. Together we can find the words of power and solve the mystery of who is truly behind the Neverwinter plague. Okay, again, let's get away from that fireplace. Because if I have to listen to crackles in one ear, it's gonna drive me nuts. All of my brothers have something like that. Like my one brother can't stand the sound of chewing, so he has to have like the TV on or music on to eat dinner. Unless he's by himself, then he can eat by himself. But like, and then oh, my other brother, it's like the sound of gurgling water makes him sound like it grosses him out. You know, like we all have like OCD or whatever you want to call it, but it's not too bad. It's not the worst thing in the world to have things that annoy you, because if you can laugh at that stuff, like the things that annoy me, I try to laugh at. If you can do that, then you can develop some resilience. Like I don't like loud sounds. Like I used to go to concerts and stuff like that, but like it really overwhelms my nervous system. So it just fills me with a lot of anxiety. Like I love music, but I don't like listening to it really loud anymore. So yeah, I just find like super loud stuff to be distracting. Like even like movies, like IMAX movies, right? Saw Avengers in IMAX, and by the end of that movie, I was so stressed out. I'm like, oh man, I just want to go home. But yeah, I'm not really that bad anymore. I know what I like and I stick to it. So let's talk to Body Knock.
Is there something you need?
Yeah, I want to talk for a while. Oh wait, let's level him up. I want to
Is
see
there something you need?
his stats. Okay, there, he's got a new robe now too. He's got 24 AC. That's actually not too bad for a sorcerer. Because look at his constitution. Holy cow. I've never seen a spellcaster with so much health. That's really funny. And he's lawful neutral. Okay. Yeah, I was talking to my brother about this. We were talking about halflings, and halflings have luck, and gnomes have battle training. Yeah, they can dodge against giants and stuff. Yeah. You can summon familiar, but you can't get him to actually do it. I can't control him. Like, you can't control your companions too well in the vanilla campaigns, but they just kind of, like, have gear and stuff on their own.
Is there something you need?
Yeah, let's talk. I wouldn't mind knowing your thoughts on Erebus' betrayal. How do you feel about it? Erebus' betrayal has caused me no amount of confusion. On the one hand, her actions appear irrational and illogical. She has vowed to destroy the city she spent her life protecting. But on the other hand, isn't it logical to assume a warrior will want to avenge the death of her lover? And what about Fenthic's death? What caused this whole mess? Which caused this whole mess? His execution made no sense. He was not an enemy of the city, and had he lived, he would have done everything in his power to help Neverwinter make up for what he had done. What purpose is there in killing a man who's only going to be your ally in the future? Such irrational behavior is difficult for me to understand. Oh, are you saying people of Lantan ever make poor decisions? Yeah, so I'm... the law has to be obeyed. Yeah, no thanks. Like, I'm not going to get into that. Sometimes people let their emotions rule their actions, and we do foolish things. Yeah, like, if you had, like... So let's say, there's a pandemic and it was caused by a cult, right? Everyone that dies from the pandemic, it's the cult's fault. So if anyone was seen as helping them, it would be treason, right, against humanity. And no one in their right mind would want someone like that to live a comfortable life. So that's just the unfortunate thing. Like, he helped the guy that was responsible for putting the plague into effect. So, like, yeah, you know, on one hand, you know, he's got a logical point of view, but we're not gnomes, right? Human beings are very emotional. And especially if you've experienced loss, like, you want to balance the scales somehow. Not that you ever really can. Like, that's why people believe in entropy, right? They believe that you can never really recoup from a loss. And that's not true. Like, people are pretty resilient. So, yeah, in Lantan we bow to the laws of reason and logic. Emotion can never be truly factored out of any decision, but we do our best to look at the facts with a dispassionate eye before taking action. That can really slow things down. Like the Ents, right? The Ents. Look how long it took them to decide they weren't orcs. It took them days. So I suppose in that sense we are quite different from many of the other cultures of Faerun. We will have to familiarize ourselves with these strange lands if we hope to integrate Lantan into mainland society. Integrate? What are you talking about? Lantan is an island. By geography, we are isolated from the rest of the world. Over the centuries, this has led to an insular culture, particularly among my people, the gnomes. We consider ourselves safely removed from the troubles of the mainland. We have been fascinated observers of the history of Faerun, as befits our analytical mindset, but we chose not to be active participants in events. Recently, however, our culture has embarked upon a radical journey of change, a revolutionary shift in our entire belief system. Soon, perhaps even in my own lifetime, Lantan will become an important part of life in the realms. What are you talking about? Some kind of invasion? We are thinkers, inventors, and academics, not soldiers. We plan to bring our culture and beliefs to Faerun through peaceful means, though we are proceeding in a rational and logical fashion. Before we attempt to introduce ourselves into the existing order, we must study and analyze the current political and cultural realities in an organized and thorough fashion. Could you expect anything less given our nature? Why the sudden change in ideology? So you can imagine a revolution of this magnitude must be precipitated by an astonishing event. Excuse me. Without a significant catalyst, there cannot be a significant reaction. In our case, the catalyst is a single, wondrous event. The day the god Gond, Wonderbringer, washed up on the shores of Lantan in mortal form. Gods in mortal form? What are you talking about? You have not heard of the time of troubles? The days when the gods were forced to take mortal form and walk among us? I would share this tale with you, but the story of Gond Wonderbringer's time on Lantan is a long one. Perhaps I'll speak more of this later, but now is not the time. We need to focus on our mission. We have to get those words of power back to Aaron Gent. Okay. Yeah, like Norse mythology, right? In Norse mythology, the gods would take mortal form, and they would go and they would see who was worthy, and they would influence the lives of people, you know? And there's a lot of places with a myth about a stranger, right? A mysterious stranger. So, yeah, like a godlike being who takes mortal form and, you know, goes about the world. So, like, Odin was known for that, right? So, like, you see a one-eyed man, you think, oh, maybe he's like Odin, right? Because Odin sacrificed his eye to drink from the tree of knowledge, fountain of knowledge, or something like that. I forget how it goes. But yeah, it's like, to think about the gods taking mortal form, like, oh yeah, ancient Greek, right? Zeus would take the form of animals and impregnate women, and that's how, you know, monsters were born, right? It's kind of a brutal myth to think about, but it helps to explain why there might have been mystical creatures, right? In Christianity, they talk about the Nephilim, angels breeding with the daughters of man, right? And they're like half angel, half human. And I'm not an expert on Christian mythology, but I'm pretty sure that that's why they caused the flood, was to kill the Nephilim, wipe them out. Because it was taking away from, you know, the powers that be, right? But I'm not an expert in that. I've been to church, I've done Bible study, but I'm more of a historian and a sociologist. Like, I like culture more than religion, and religion's an important part of culture. So, like, yeah, I've never really studied it, but it is an important part of culture. Yeah, so I want to talk for a while. Alright, you seem quite interested in this subject. I suppose we could spare a few minutes from our quest to speak about Gond's arrival on the shores of Lantan, if you wish. I wouldn't have asked if I didn't want to hear the tale. Precisely. As I already mentioned, Gond Wonderbringer appeared on the shores of Lantan during the time of troubles. During those years of Au, the Overfather of the gods, decreed they must walk among us as mortals. Gond Wonderbringer chose to take the form of a gnome, a logical choice, given the obvious advantages of my race. It was in this form that he washed up on the shores of Lantan. As you can imagine, people were skeptical of Gond's claim, but the Wonderbringer's clairs confirmed his identity. Go on. During the time of troubles, there was a great strife among the suddenly mortal gods. Bane, Baal, and Merkul slew each other, battling over the portfolio of death. Joaquin, the goddess of wealth and commerce, vanished and has never returned. But Gond chose not to become involved in the machinations and power struggles of the other deities. He dwelt peacefully among the people of my island home, sharing his wisdom and knowledge with us. perhaps the most well-known gift he shared with us was the secret of making smoke powder. Smoke powder? Smoke powder is quite useful if somewhat dangerous, though it resembles nothing more than coarse black sand. When lit, smoke powder will explode with a blast of surprising force. Smoke powder is a remarkable tool with many uses, but it can be quite destructive in the wrong hands. This is why even among the Lantanese, the secrets of smoke powder are only known to a precious few. But even though smoke powder is Gon's most well-known gift to my people, it was not the most important piece of knowledge he shared with us. Really? You mean you have something more powerful than smoke powder? As I've already told you, we are a society of observers and thinkers. We have a tradition of isolating ourselves from the politics and events of Faerun, but Gon challenged all that. He warned us a time was coming when we must become involved in the affairs of the mainland. A time was coming in which we could not afford to remain dispassionate and neutral. He would not say when this time was or what the circumstances would be of this momentous event, but when a god tells you to go forth into the rest of the world, you would be wise to listen. But Lantan is still a very closed and mysterious society. Given the analytical nature of our society, you could not expect we would suddenly integrate ourselves with the rest of Faerun without careful study and research of what we were about to undertake. Suddenly, the discoveries and accounts of those who had left their island on journeys of exploration become infinitely more important as a tool to teach us of the society and culture we knew we would soon be interacting with. Now, by law, all who leave Lantan must first visit the clerics of Gon Woderbringer to obtain divine guidance before embarking on their journey. What kind of divine guidance did you receive? Me? You know, the usual. Go with Gon, that kind of thing. Pretty much what you'd expect. You're not a very good lad. Body Knock, are you keeping secrets from me? The guidance I've received from Gon's clerics is a personal and private thing, and has nothing to do with our work for Aaron Gant. Perhaps I'll speak more of this later, but now is not the time. We need to focus on our mission. We have to get those words of power back to Aaron Gant. Man, I've talked to some things in my head before, but never received any guidance from God. I'd say that would have been pretty earth-shattering, but alas, I'm not the chosen one. Like, hallucinations, like, some people, you know, like in times before modern society, like witches and wizards, right? Druids. Some of these people had mental illnesses, and they could come up with some pretty wild stories, so people used to listen to those people and, like, you know, respect them, right? Because they are full of knowledge. And I've said some pretty strange things in my time, but I'm glad those days are behind me.
Is there something you need?
Oh yeah, like I'm not logical. I'm very emotional, but I'm practical. Yeah. When you're practical, you can kind of boil things down to their base components, and you can kind of be like, is this worth my time or not? And it's really a really good skill to have. Like, playing these games, really good use of my time. If I wasn't doing the YouTube channel, I'd still be playing games, but it wouldn't be as much fun, I think, because reading this stuff out loud, it's fun, and I hope people enjoy it. So I probably shouldn't tell you this, but you have proven yourself to me many times over, and I'm certain not even Gon himself would begrudge me for asking your assistance in this matter. I'm about to reveal a secret known only to the people of Lantan, and those within the Church of Gon Wonderbringer. I am relying on you not to spread the secret around. As you know, I left Lantan on a journey of discovery. What you might not have known was that my journey is also a holy pilgrimage in the service of Gon Wonderbringer. I've been charged with the task. What task? Whenever one of my people embarks upon a sojourn to the mainland, the clerics of Gon pray to the Wonderbringer for a vision of what new and previously unseen wonder the traveler is to seek out on his journey. In my case, the priest saw a terrible creature of enormous size and great power, a monster unknown in my homeland. Only after consulting the text in the Great Library did the priest understand the vision was of a dragon. You have to bring back a dragon? That won't be easy. Obviously, bringing back an entire dragon would be an impossible request, and the clerics would have been foolish to burden me with such a ridiculous task. Instead, they charged me to return with a dragon's scale. Through experimentation, study, and magical divination, we can learn much about these creatures from a single scale. However, the scale must not have been tainted by spells or other unnatural forces such as magical weapons, or the experiments would be corrupted by the outside influence. so you want me to find the scale for you. I realize the odds of defeating a dragon without spells or magical weapons are so minute as to be negligible. However, there may be another way to obtain the scale. Dragons occasionally come into conflict with other creatures, giants and other dragons primarily. In battling these foes, surely a dragon must be wounded, perhaps even killed. Logically, we might expect to find a dragon scale that has been torn free or dislodged in one of these struggles. This is far more likely than killing a dragon ourselves without any magical aid whatsoever. So, I guess you're off to search for some dragon caves. Do not fear. As long as you seek the words of power, I shall remain in your service. In my time with you, I've seen more wonders and experienced more fantastic adventures than all but a handful of my people. When I return home, my accounts will enrich the knowledge of all Lantan. I would be a fool to leave you now, even if I thought I could find a dragon scale on my own. I have a dragon scale right here. Will this do? Yes, this is exactly what I was looking for. The priests of Gon will be amazed when I return this wondrous material. Yet again, you've proven yourself to be the greatest of friends. Here, take this ring. It was given to me by the clerics of the Wonderbringer before I left Lantan. You have aided and guided me throughout my sojourn in the service of the Gon's church. The logical thing to do would be to give the church's ring to the man who aided me on my mission. Thank you for this reward, Bodyknock. The ring has powerful magical properties which you must not underestimate. Now that I've fulfilled my quest, I have no further need of the ring. What are you going to do now, Bodyknock? Eventually, I'll return to Lantan and present the dragon scale to Gon's church, Prison Blossom seeds to my father, and the leaven bread to my master. I suspect it will be a most joyful homecoming. I'll be hailed as a hero among my people, and it's all because of you. I'm going to miss you, Bodyknock. After all you've done for me, I can hardly leave you now. No, the only rational course of action would be to stay with you until your own mission is done. My return to Lantan will have to wait until we find the words of power and return them to Eren Gent. As long as you search for the words, I'll stay by your side. Alright, let's have a looky at the ring. So yeah, the Profiro's ring. Charisma. It has regeneration +1, but I already have regeneration with the Ring of Power, and I don't think they stack. So, again, you know, it's cool, but it's going to the collection. Oh, I do still have that ring. I thought I messed that up. I had encountered a glitch, and I thought I lost this ring, but I do still have it. That's excellent. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff here. Pretty good things. But I'm not sure how much of it stacks or not. Plus, like these, I can cast powerful magical abilities on myself once a day. It's pretty cool. Alright, 3 down, 3 to go. Let's save, so I don't have to go through it again. Now let's drink some coffee. Coffee is my favorite beverage. And I remember being like a kid, going to school, and there was a grocery store next to the school. So we'd go to the store just to hang out, right? Well, at the front of the store, they would brew free coffee. So you could go help yourself to some free coffee. And we're like grade 3 or grade 4. And we're going and we're like drinking coffee, but like we're putting like ton of sugar, we're putting like ton of creamer in. You know, it's not real coffee. It's like kids' version of coffee. And one day some kid, some guy, he was like in his 20s, right? He was like, "Oh, you guys shouldn't be drinking that coffee. Oh, you're too young for it." And we're like, "Ah, screw you, buddy." But eventually they stopped putting it out. So, yeah. And I worked at a Tim Hortons for a while. I worked my way up to being a baker's assistant, basically. So I never wore the baker's uniform, but I did do the baking job. So I was responsible for making all the food. I had fun for a while, but I'm not really it's not that I don't work, but some people want to work you to the bone, right? So you kind of have to find your own speed to go. If every time someone snaps their fingers, you go jump to attention, you're just gonna run yourself ragged, man. Like, it's not worth it. Like, nobody, like, it's kind of a meme. It's like, but never volunteer for something, and it's true, right? Like, you don't want to be seen as too eager, because then you've just nominated yourself for all the tough jobs. Like, you know, I ended up having to clean the bathrooms more often than not, because I said I'd do it once, and then once they knew I would do it once, nobody else wanted to do it, so I ended up having to do it a lot. But yeah, I ended up getting promoted, so It's not like it's the worst thing in the world, but yeah. That situation didn't end too well for me.
The fires of war are burning on the horizon. Why am I not surprised to see you here to forge your blood-drenched legacy in the furnace of slaughter?
So Tommy's my number one companion because he's a rogue and he's a good-natured guy. Like, I'd like to hang out with him in real life, but I love Grimnaw. Grimnaw is so cool because like, his alignment is evil, but he's not like a villain, right? He's like a heroic character. He's like Vegeta from Dragon Ball Z. So, like, his code means he's got to kill people sometimes, but, like, he's not a evil dude. Like, I know Vegeta's slaughtered civilians before, but he grew out of that, and he became a family man, right? But, yeah, like, Grimnaw's kind of the same thing, where, like, he's got a really weird view on life and death, but he's a great companion. He's a really good fighter, and, he's just fun to talk to because he's like, you know, he's obsessed with death. But, like, in a good way. He's like, things have to have their end, right? And we make sure that happens. So he basically is, like, against demons and undead. Like, gross creatures, chaos, right? He's against that stuff. So he's not really a villain. He's just a killer. A straight-up killer. Cold-hearted killer. You know, and people like that are really hard to relate to. So that's why he's quote-unquote evil, but he's lawful, right? He follows rules. So it's good to see you again, Grimnaw. There are not many who claim it is good to see the members of my order, but you and I are of the same ilk. We do not shy from death and killing. When I heard Eren Gen was recruiting mercenaries to his cause, I knew you would come, just as I did. Our fates appear once more to be bound together. Erebus' betrayal has stoked the fires of war, and I'm eager to see the killing begin. If we are lucky, this war will engulf the entire region. We should join up again, Grimnaw. Together we shall bring a flood of death to drown the north.
Is there something?
Okay, let's level him up. He's going from black to, oh, like a straight-up monk's robe.
Follow me, now.
Oh, he's fast, too.
Certain as
Look at that, 28 AC. He's got 25 constitution, 22 strength. Yeah, he's got 1d6 cold damage, right? That's magic damage. That goes through like stuff like stone skin and stuff like that. But yeah, he's really strong. If you have a like, Tommy will die in a lot of fights. That's just an unfortunate side effect of being a rogue. But a monk is not so easy to beat, and he also has spell resistance too, spell immunity even. So monks are kind of an overpowered class. Like, he's got 4 attacks a turn. I only have 3 attacks. Right? So he's even better than me. Like, I have higher attack stats and a more powerful weapon, but like, he's got 4 attacks and he's only using his fists. So I'm not sure what damage type that is. I don't know if it's probably blunt, right? So yeah, he's got hammer fists. He's a dwarf, so they get battle training too, and dark vision. Oh yeah, dwarfs are resistant to spells too. Monk AC bonus. They add their wisdom modifier to their AC class. So if you were making a monk and you dumped all your points into wisdom, then you'd have a pretty high AC. You'd be like, this is pretty low if you ask me. If his constitution and wisdom were switched, he'd have 31 AC. That would be totally bonkers. Yeah.
Is there something you need?
I just want to talk for a while. Yeah, I wouldn't mind knowing your thoughts on Erebus' betrayal. How do you feel about it? I have mixed feelings about the Paladin's action. They say she was driven to her betrayal by the execution of her lover. She could not accept his death, and it drove her mad with grief and a desire for revenge. As a member of the Order of the Long Death, her reaction to an inevitable event seems rather childish. The Silent Lord comes for us all. We might as well learn to accept it. Accepting death is one thing. Having your lover hung right in front of you is something else. Would she have felt better had her lover had his entrails removed by a hungry troll, or had his limbs ripped from their sockets by an angry giant? Or perhaps she would have been less angry had a slow-acting poison drawn him into a sleep from which he would never awaken. Death is death. My order seeks to help the world understand this. So you disapprove of what she has done. The motives for her actions seem foolish to me, but the results are pleasing. She has brought war to the north. Thousands will die painful, shrieking deaths beneath the blade she has unleashed. The Silent Lord is eager to feast upon the table Erebeth has set for him, and while death gorges itself on the soldiers and civilians alike, I'll be present to bear witness to my master's gluttony. You're bloodthirsty for Grimna. I like it. You have a love of death and bloodshed that is rare outside our order, yet even you cannot truly fathom the beauty of death nor the mysteries of the Silent Lord. Well, that's the thing. When you play video games, right? I was thinking about this before, watching like Black Mirror, but I was like, could you imagine if you had a stat page of every video game you've ever played, and it had like your kill count, your death count, how many times you rescued someone, how many times you betrayed someone? You know, like, could you imagine if you had that access to that knowledge? How crazy that would be? Like, how many people have I killed in a video game, right? Oh, I've shifted my... because I said I like his bloodthirstiness, I've shifted towards evil. So that's what I mean. Like, as a video game protagonist, you're kind of forced to kill a lot of people. Because it's like you're playing Fallout, you're playing Skyrim, you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, you're playing Warhammer, right? Like, people will try to kill you, so you have to kill them first. And if you get a sneak attack or whatever, well, you're a preemptive striking. So, who's the more bloodthirsty? Like, the guy who always wins, or the guy who fights for his life, you know? Like, as the player, more often than not, you're a winner. So, because if you die, you just reload the game, right? So, as a video gamer, you're kind of like a murderous bastard. Because think of how many people you've killed. And for what? In the name of fun, right? So, like, some people take games very seriously. Like, when, like, Grand Theft Auto came out, and they're like, oh, kids are gonna want to commit crime because of playing Grand Theft Auto. It's like, if your kid doesn't have mental illness, and they haven't been taught a certain way, they're not gonna play that game and go do that stuff, right? Like, the people that do that stuff are severely sick. Like, very sick. Because it's not normal for you to want to hurt people. Like, as a kid, when you hurt someone, they say, hey, that hurts, don't do that. And you feel bad, so you don't do it anymore, right? Well, some people never learn that. Some people like to hurt people. So, like, me saying, oh, Grimna, you're a bloodthirsty freak, I like it. And he's like, well, you have a love of death and bloodshed. Like, it's like Solid Snake, right? Like, sometimes you gotta kill someone, but if you have a way to do it non-lethally, you can do it, right? Like, that's what being the hero is. You gotta kill the bad guy and save the good guys, right? So, justice. As a monk of the long death, I was subjected to rituals and ceremonies that brought a true appreciation for that which others fear in their ignorance. Torture, pain, suffering, and even death itself. These things are beautiful. I could never believe these things to be beautiful, Grimnot. You're an evil, evil man. Or, you could love death, killing, pain, and torture. Or, I kill when I have to, Grimnot, but I doubt I'll ever see anything beautiful in it. Yeah. So, like, I like a quote from House MD. He's like, there's nothing glamorous about dying. You just die, right? And that's true. But, like, that's what funerals and stuff are for, right? Like, you have a ceremony to try and, like, come to terms with the loss you've experienced, right? Nobody wants to die, but you know, it happens. So that's just the way it is. And like, I don't think it's beautiful, but I think it's necessary, because like, if you lived forever, what would be the point of your life, right? Like, some people, when they get old, they kind of lose their desire to do stuff because they're in so much pain, right? That's the only reason people want to end things. They want to end to their pain. They don't really want to die. They just want to end the suffering. So, like, you don't want anyone to suffer. So, like, Grimna, he would not want to torture someone. He would just kill them, right? Unless they deserved it. So, like, oh, this person brought bloodshed, we're going to bring bloodshed to them. Right? Like, the punishment should fit the crime, right? Like, if you killed somebody, and it's been proven that you're, like, like, you're not remorseful for it, then you should be put to death, if you ask me. Like, I live in Canada, and we did away with the death penalty in the 60s. But there are some people like Paul Bernardo who he should be put to death. It's like, oh, he should just live the rest of his days. Well, a lot of money goes into keeping prisoners alive and keeping them fed and keeping them clothed and giving them facilities because human rights, right? Like this guy tortured young girls. So, like, he shouldn't get a easy life. Like, when you're in prison and you're by yourself, like, there's no threat. Like, they try to keep you safe because you have to serve out your term. But, like, you know, the thing that they deserve is to feel what their victims felt. So if there was, like, a Black Mirror episode that could do that, like, I would like to see that. Like they extract the memories from their victim and then they make them live out the victim's memories, right? Like, if you could do that to someone and, like, torture them until their mind shatters, I could see that as rehabilitation, right? Because then if they are remorseful for what they did, right? So that's why, like, D&D, in Dungeons and Dragons, we don't talk about remorse because we have alignment. Oh, the orcs are evil. Oh, the goblins are evil. Oh, that necromancer was evil, right? You don't think about it, right? But there are people that do want to think about what it's like to be evil. And those people are usually, they don't have many friends. Like, let's continue with the story. Yeah. So, I kill when I have to, Grimnow, but I doubt I'll ever see anything beautiful in it. Yeah, that's how I feel too. You bring destruction wherever you go. Your motives may be good or evil, but that makes no difference. Death is forever by your side. The Silent Lord has placed his mark upon you. If I could share the experiences of my initiation, you might begin to glimpse some small hint of what death truly means. The only pure absolute truth is an imperfect existence. So enlighten me. Tell me about your order's rituals. No, now is not the time. Eager as you are, I'm afraid you are not ready for the wisdom I would share. Perhaps later I'll speak more of this, but now is not the time. You're not yet ready. Let us return to our mission, for in doing so, we will surely spread death throughout the north. Yeah, well, one more thing that I'll say. There are people out there right now that think Thanos was a saint. And they think that we need to reduce the population by 50% in order to save the world. Because they think overpopulation is going to destroy it. But, like, when we had the pandemic, we had so many potatoes not being bought because people were storing up on other food that they had to throw them all away. So you're telling me there's not enough food to go around when we're throwing out, like, thousands of pounds of potatoes because no one will buy them? You're telling me there's not enough food? Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. You tell me there's not enough water? Like, you can desalinate water. It costs money, but if you want to do it, you can do it, right? There's people that go to places, they have machines that pull water from the air, and then you just have fresh, clean water. Like, people do that, right? If we really wanted everyone to have everything they needed, we could do that. But the thing is, we're not allowed to do anything about it, right? We're not allowed to. Like, if I wanted to start some organization to bring water to people that have no clean water, like the homeless, for example, like, I'd have to get permission from the government to be able to do something like that. If I just go start handing out water, yeah, that's fine. But if they find out about it, oh, do you have papers for that, right? That's Canada in a nutshell. Oh, we want you to be paragons of humanity, but your hands are tied. You can't actually do anything about it. The government has to do it all, right? We don't really have much power individually as people. So when you see people out there and they're like, I saw people, they had a sign out for free Bible study. You know, hey, that's great. Like, at least it's not the abortion people showing pictures of abortions, you know? Like, we have people like that sometimes. And I don't want to get into detail, but they show graphic images. And you're just driving down the street, and there's like 20 of them lined up down the road, all with these posters. And it's like, how did they get permission to be able to do that? Right? But they didn't need permission. It's in the law. Oh, if you want to do that, you can, as long as you're not blocking traffic, right? So, Yeah, like Canada is a very strange place. It's like we're supposed to be held to a higher standard than other people, but when it comes down to it, our hands are tied. We're not allowed to do anything because the government wants to manipulate everything themselves. So D&D is not like that. That's why I like video games. There's no like if I wanted to put it in a video game, it'd be like this. Every time you want to level up, you need to get permission from your boss to level up, and he has to approve your skill choices and your perk choices. If he doesn't like what you did, you're not allowed to do it. Okay? That's Canada. Everything you do, it's got to be micromanaged. And if you're not paying taxes, oh, we're going to take it all from you. Right? I looked it up. If you made $1 million working an hourly wage, you would have to pay $500,000 in taxes. Yep. How do you get rich in Canada? You don't. They just want you to work, work, work because they need Tim Hortons to go to, right? Do you think a politician would ever work at a Tim Hortons? No, they grew up in a privileged lifestyle. It's called the Laurentian elite, right? Those are the people that run the country, not us. Okay? So, if I want to say, hey, Grimna, I think you're awesome, they're going to make me evil for that, right? I don't approve of that. Approving of someone else's misdeeds doesn't make you evil, right? Like, Robin Hood. He stole from the rich, gave to the poor. Like, as a peasant myself, I approve of what he does, even if he's got to kill to do it. Like, oh, that guard has a family. I know, but he's working for the Baron, right? But this isn't Robin Hood. Like, for the most part, the government's there to look out for you. But, not if you have any kind of disabilities, we'll say. If you're not producing, you're not really a citizen. So, that's how it is in Canada.
Is there something you need?
So, like, if there was an Order of the Long Death in Canada, like, it's not that they wouldn't be allowed to organize, it's that people would be spying on them the whole time, right? And if they ever stepped outside the law, like if they ever, oh, you know, we have death practices, but we don't kill anyone anymore, right? Like the Hudson's Bay Company used to kill people and take their property. That's what the wars in North America were really all about. It was about the fur trade, right? Oh, we don't want to pay the British government for our goods anymore. Oh, we don't approve of that. So we couldn't defend ourselves, so we had to do it a different way. But, so in Canada, we had the, what's it called? The Red Rebellion. And this guy, Louis Riel, he's what's called as a Métis. He's French and native. So they're kind of the go-betweens between the Europeans and the natives. Well, he just wanted to live free from government oppression. So he ended up taking up arms and he fought a battle and he lost and he got executed for it. But they still teach us about him, right? So it's not that we don't respect rebels. It's that when they take up arms, then they become traitors, right? So, yeah. Like, that's why we don't, like... It's not in our constitution to bear arms. We're not a civilian militia like America or Switzerland. And if you're American, I highly encourage you to read about Switzerland's militia culture because you might really appreciate it, right? Like they're all armed in Switzerland, everyone. So yeah, in Canada, like if you live in the wild, you don't need to have papers to own a rifle. Because it costs too much money to get those papers. They know you're poor. So they basically allow them to do whatever they want in those places because as long as those people live there, it's controlled by Canada. That's the real reason why we have a presence in the north. It's not because we're going to like stop the Russian invasion from happening. It's because we're supporting the indigenous population because they're manning the border basically, right? So, like, most of the people in Canada live on the border with America. Most of them do. But there's a lot of people out there. Well, a lot of Americans live in Canada, too. And a lot of Canadians live in America. And we basically all live the same kind of lifestyle, which is You know, we produce, we reuse, we recycle. You know, some of us go to church, some of us don't. You know, we're all pretty much the same, right? And then everyone that comes here, they're like, man, this place is awesome, right? Like, I never saw beggars on the street until I went to France or Italy. Like, I've never seen beggars before until I went there. And it's not to say there's anything wrong with that, but like their population is like way higher than Canada's. Like, if you took all of Europe's population, like let's look that up right now. What's all of Europe's population? Because Canada's population is about 40 million right now. So, what's Europe's total population? Because this stuff is interesting, right? Like, sociology is interesting. 742 million people as of 2023. So, if you take all the people of Europe, there's way more of them than there is in Canada, America, and Mexico, right? Because we're basically connected, right? What is it? NAFTA? I forget what it's called, but yeah. So there's way more Europeans out there. So when you have a higher population, it's a lot harder to get everyone the resources that they need. So like, there's a lot of socialist political groups out there. And this is the thing they all have in common. Oh, we want to give people the things they need. We want to provide food and clothing for the homeless and shelter for the elderly and education for the youth. But they don't know how to make it happen because they don't have any money. It's like, hey, if we really wanted everyone to have that stuff, they would have it, right? So like homeschooling. You're allowed to homeschool your kid if you want to. My oldest brother, his wife homeschooled their 4 kids through up until high school. They all went to high school. But I think it's more important that you get a good education as a youth, as a child, because that's when you're the most influential, right? Or more easily influenced, right? So I hated school because it was boring. It didn't interest me at all. It was too slow. So I could read about like I could read at a young age. So if I wanted to know something, I would just go read about it, and then I'd know. I don't have to listen to some freaking old person tell me with bad breath like what 2 plus 2 is. I already know, right? I'm not saying I'm the smartest kid on the block, but I did pretty well in school. So yeah, that's just a huge diversion. But yeah, like living in Canada it's weird because like the atypical Canadian is like, oh, a boot, right? Whatever. No, the atypical Canadian is actually kind of a stuck-up prick. That's the average Canadian. Most people are too busy living their life to give a shit about you or your problems or what you think. They don't care. Like, everyone just wants to live their life as best as they can. So, like, you know, that's just how it is. So, if you want to, like, rise in Canadian society, then you have to either play sports or be a politician. Those are the only 2 things that will elevate your status, right? Because everyone in Canada loves sports, right? We love hockey. I don't watch it, but I appreciate it. We have football too. We have soccer. We have lacrosse, right? Like lacrosse is pretty big here. So what's lacrosse? It's like cricket, but you actually run around. Yeah, kind of the same thing. It's just like just a game. But yeah, because like our professional athletes don't get paid like millions of dollars, right? They kind of have to live a more humble lifestyle, which they should. Like, if I was a professional, if I went from being basically poor to being a millionaire, I wouldn't know what to do with that stuff, man. I wouldn't, and I would probably waste all that money giving it away or something like that because, like, I don't really want that much. But some people, they want to make money so that they can provide for people, and that's really hard to do here. Like, if you're a single income family, right? If you need to take sick leave, you're kind of screwed, right? Like, you can get pregnant and go off on maternity leave, but if you have pneumonia, like, they have sick days, but they're not going to let you go off for like a month, for example. Like, my nephew's got pneumonia. He's got to be off for like a month, right? He's not getting paid for that. Like, nobody really cares about that. So, and he's a really hard worker. Like, he deserves to have a month off to recover. But, like, he's the only one making money. So, that's the thing. Like, what some people do is instead of working, they just have like 4 or 5 kids, and then they just hang out at home all day. You know, like some people do that, and the government kind of allows for it because if you have more than 2 children, you're going to be making like over $1,000 for those kids, and if you're a pretty frugal spender, then you can make it work, right? But if you're someone that's like, if you're making like $100,000 a year, you're probably paying $30,000 to $40,000 in taxes, unless you're putting that away in a retirement. Because if you put money away in retirement, they don't tax you for it. So that's how people avoid going over their brackets and taxes. Because it's like, oh, I don't know, like anything up to $50,000, it's like 15% tax. But then over 50,000, everything you make over 50,000, it's 20.5%. So that's what I said earlier. If you make $1 million, you end up paying like $500,000 in taxes. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but that's how it is here. So, like, if you're low income and you're okay with being low income, you can find places to live with other people, and you can kind of be like a commune, basically. But I've lived with roommates, and I hated it because the thing about roommates is everyone thinks it's their house, and they treat it like it's their house when it's a shared space. So I don't want to do that again, right? But yeah. Anyway, that's enough rambling about Canada for one day. Let's get back to the game. I'm glad you're still here. Hopefully you're learning some stuff. I do like educating people. When I was a kid, I used to read out loud for the class. I used to read stories for them. Like, I was reading at a young age, like 2 or 3, I was reading because my brothers played video games, and they'd read the stuff out to me, and I learned how to read by watching them play video games. So my mom didn't even know I could read until we went to the bank and I was reading a mortgage. Well, it's mortgage, right? The T is silent. So I was having a hard time with it, and she's like, "You can read?" I'm like, "Yeah." So, like I said, I'm not a genius, but you know, like, I am smart. Do have some talents. Reading is one of them. Memory is not one of them. That's why I stopped reading books, because there's too much stuff to remember, and it goes away, right? So anyway, let's get back to it. Let me finish this coffee off. So yeah, it's been an hour. I think I can take a couple minutes. I'm gonna make another coffee, and I'll be right back. So, just one last thing. Like I said that I used to read for kids at school when I started high school. I was really worried about it because, like, in movies and stuff, they make you think that high school is going to be really rough. Just depends on the school, right? But, yeah. Like, I'd read stuff for people in class, and they all loved the sound of my voice, so I made a bunch of friends that way, too. And in grade 12, I actually did the school announcements for a while. So, yeah, like, reading for people is not anything new for me. I quite enjoy it. And I get to do it while playing these games, right? So, like, it's fun for me, because, like, if I read just to myself, like, I won't make any mistakes, but when I try to read the words out loud, it's like my eyes kind of get ahead of where I am, and I start mixing the words together. My brothers are the same way. Like, on our own, when we're just, like, focused on doing our own thing, we're all really proficient. But as soon as we try to, like, expand the scope a bit, like, we get distracted pretty easily. And it's not a bad thing, right? Like, I'm assuming you don't mind these tangents because you're still here, but, like, that's what I like about streams. I don't just like watching people play games. I want to know about them. I want to know what they think and understand how they feel and stuff like that. So, like, you know, it's interesting because I find by learning about other people, we find out things about ourselves. Because when you see what limits other people impose on themselves, you look at yourself and you're like, okay, well, am I limiting myself by being this way? So, like, one person I love talking to is my younger brother, because he's not like me. He won't get on the camera and read books out for you. He will not do that for you. But he can talk. He does have things to say. But he's got a great memory. He's never done drugs in his life. So he's got a perfect memory. And, like, sometimes I'll be talking about stuff. I'll be like, oh, yeah, this thing really pissed me off. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I kind of like that. And I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be pissed off about it if he likes it. Like, I don't doubt his judgments. Whereas me, like, I was unreliable for quite a long time. And basically up until the last year, I just had a rough go of it. Like, I started getting medicated properly because I have a psychotic disorder. So people would just think, oh, you just got an anger problem, right? Well, no, I don't have an anger problem. I have a psychosis problem. And they're like, oh, you got depression, right? So they treat you for depression because you're tired. Well, when you have a psychotic disorder and you take antidepressants, what does an antidepressant do? It stimulates, right? So you're stimulating a psychotic disorder with medication. And, like, you think weed is bad, well, wait till you've taken antidepressants while you have a psychosis. Like, I smoke weed because I enjoy it, and it does help me with anxiety. Because a side effect of antipsychotics is anxiety and weight gain. So I've gained weight and I've gained anxiety. But I now have the tools to deal with that stuff now. Like, with the medication, it's like my life. I didn't start my life until I got on the medication, we'll say. So now that I'm playing these games and I'm doing these streams and I'm recording videos and I'm talking to people and stuff like that, like, if I wasn't doing this, like, then you'd know I hadn't got better. But now that I'm doing it, you know I've gotten better. Long story short. So I'm 34, and basically up until 33, like, I had no control over how I felt. Now, I feel the same way every day. Used to be I'd feel different every day, so some days were good, some days were bad. Now, every day is more or less good. Right? Some things kind of suck, like, sometimes I play a game and it makes me anxious and stuff like that, but it's a video game, right? Like, you can always turn it off if you don't like what you're doing. So, yeah, now that I'm doing this again, it's like, you know, great. And I plan on doing it for a while. Like, it's going to take me, you know, a couple of years at least to grow this channel. So, I'm not in any hurry. So, that's why I don't mind these little side excursions, because you get to find out about me, you know? Maybe you just enjoy hearing someone talk. Maybe you want to know about that stuff, or you just want to have a place to hang out. Like, sometimes I just put a stream on and I go do something else, you know? Like, sometimes it's nice to have someone that you like talking in the background, right? Like, I talk to my mom every day, but she's not like, you know, she's not a streamer, right? Like, she has no desire to get online and share her feelings with a bunch of strangers, but like I'm unique in my family where I do desire that. Like, my brothers were like, how do you talk to people so easily? I just talk to them, you know? Like, I treat everyone basically the same. Like, I have a good relationship with my family, so I just treat everyone like family. So, oh, you're a shopkeep? Oh, you serve coffee? You know, like, I'm just like you. I appreciate what you do, right? I appreciate everything everyone does. Like, I appreciate you being here and listening to me, right? Like, I wish my girlfriends had been that supportive. You know, like, they might have been marriage material if they were a little more supportive. But unfortunately, I have not been blessed in that regard like my brothers. Got 3 older brothers, and they all got married to their high school sweethearts, basically, and have families with them. So, like, I tried to do that, but, you know, I wasn't medicated, so it was really hard for me to do. But there's something to be said about support, moral support. And, yeah, these ladies just had no interest in that. You know? It was almost like, oh, you got a problem? Well, figure it out yourself. That's basically how they felt. I'm like, I have problems. I need help. They're like, okay. So, what did they do? They basically tortured me. It's like, now I know why I felt the way I felt. You know? So, I don't hate them. You know? Like, everyone is got flaws, right? So, some people think they need to control others. That's the way they were. They thought they had to control others. Because that's how they felt secure, was by controlling others. Because, like, not to get into too much detail, but, like, their family lives weren't as great as mine. And when you don't feel secure in your family life, like, it'll make you insecure for the rest of your life. So, like, I know people that they didn't like being told what to do by their parents. And it's like, just do something that makes them not want to correct your behavior. Like, I was like 5 when I'm like, hey, if I don't want to get a talking to by anybody, like my mom or my brothers, I should just not do anything bad. So I stopped. You know, like, it was very, very simple solution, right? It's just modify your behavior. But, like, some people are just, like, they can't allow themselves to change because then their frame would shatter, right? Like, some people build a frame and they live it. And it's like, why do you do that to yourself? Like, you know, like, it just sounds like torturing yourself, but that's what some people do. So, like, you know, comedians, right? People like comedians when they don't say anything that offends them, right? So, like, Dave Chappelle, you know, he made a show out of racist humor. But as long as it didn't offend anyone that wasn't black, it didn't matter. So, if it was racist towards black people or African Americans or just dark-skinned people in general, however you want to categorize them, like, they're humans, right? But, yeah, he appealed to that audience. So, like, he made fun of everyone. But when he started making fun of LGBTQ, I don't want to get too specific because it's not just, like, one group that's upset with them. But, like, he would tell jokes and he's like, look, I'm going to keep telling jokes about you until you can laugh at them. Because once you learn to laugh at these jokes, you won't be carrying a cross, so to speak. Because that's what some people do. They want to join a cause and they want to carry a cross. Right? And they do it in some sort of judgmental way. It's like, oh, approve of me, right? Like they're militant people, right? And militant people do not belong in society. Like there's a time and a place for militants, and that's war and defense, right? Like I've seen videos on YouTube. They're like, why do Canadians change when they think of war? It's kind of a meme, right? But I'll tell you why. It's because every time Canadians have fought in a war, it was a war someone else started, and it's a war that we had to shed our blood for. So when World War I and World War II happened, Canada wasn't even an independent country. If you play Hearts of Iron 4, it's a gameplay mechanic. You have to wait for Great Britain to declare war on someone before you can go to war with them. And if you try to change that, well, then you have to basically go to war with the monarchy, right? So we get sent to the front lines to get gassed, to get bombed, to get shot, to get stabbed. And what happens? Well, we don't want to die, so we kill them first. So every time we fight in a war, we expect it to be the last one because we're going to kill everyone that gets in our way until we're done. Right? We're not looking to conquer your land. We're going to fight you until you give up. So that's why we're so good in sports, right? We have the same mentality. It's a war of attrition. And a war of attrition is all in the mind. Okay? So when we go to war, it's to end someone else's war. So that's why we have that meme. Canada's not like that anymore. We don't want a part of the politics anymore. Because, like Great Britain, right? They're pretty independent. So is France. Germany is really a big part of the UN. Like the policy making and stuff. But like France has their military deployed in Africa. And Great Britain and America are going back to the Middle East again. And then the rest of the wars happening in the world. Canada has no part of any of it anymore. Like, we're not allowed to. We used to stop people from fighting. We're not allowed to do that anymore. Nobody listens to us anymore because of our Prime Minister. So, hopefully things change in the future. But, yeah, it's not a great time to be a Canadian, if you ask me. We used to be really cool. And, like, I remember Prime Minister Harper. I think he had a lot of great changes on the country. He did a lot of great changes for the military. You know, they considered buying those fighter jets from America, but they knew they were too much money, so they didn't do it. But, like, Canada has only needed a military to defend others. Like, the only time we deploy our military is to, like, bring aid to hurricane victims and bring medicine to malaria victims. Like, that's basically all we do now. We don't really fight anymore. And that's fine. Like, we shouldn't fight in other people's wars anymore unless we want to. So, like, you know, if World War III started up and I got conscripted, you know, I would do my best to show them that I'm not the man for the job. But, you know, they'll find a use for you. Either at the front or somewhere else, right? So best to hope that that never happens. I'm not going to sign up for it willy-nilly. I don't have the mentality for that, you know? Like, to to sacrifice yourself, right? Like, when you have a mental illness, you're basically sacrificing your joy, but unintentionally. Like, I'm not trying to sacrifice myself. It's just going that way. So, you know, eventually what happens is you just have to, like, find your place in the world and stick with it. So, that's what I'm doing now. I'm doing the streams, and I'm doing that. So, yeah. Let's get back to the game. Alright. Very well. The beauty of death is not easily understood, but if you're willing, I'll tell you of some of the rituals I endured when I joined the Long Death. Before an initiate can be accepted into the order, they must first learn to appreciate the beauty of death. We must walk the cemeteries and graveyards in search of this beauty. We must live and dwell amongst the dead and dying. We must surround ourselves with that which others consider gruesome or macabre. For many, this is the easiest part of our training. I myself was already enraptured with the corpses on the battlefield. I already understood the perfect truth of their deaths. The next phase of our training is to understand the tools the Silent Death Lord uses to prepare us for death, pain, suffering, sorrow, agony. We participate in the torture of the victims. We witness the sweet release they achieve when at last they succumb to death. And when we subject ourselves to the same torments as our victims, we taste the pain and suffering as it burns away that part of us which clings to the mortal world. You subject yourselves to torture? Only through experiencing such pain can we understand how it prepares us to kneel at the altar of the Silent Lord. Pain is of this world, but it can release us from the next. The Silent Lord claims many during this stage of the initiation. Those whom he has chosen to yet serve him in this world. Those who survive continue their training. In the next stage of our initiation, we must become true servants of the Silent Lord. We must murder 3 people, a rich old man, a poor young woman, and a newborn child. Why does it have to be those specific 3 victims? By slaying a rich old man, a poor young woman, and a newborn babe, we learn that all of us are subjects of the Silent Lord. Male, female, young, old, rich, poor. Death has dominion over us all. Next we must face the wheel. A simple test, but one which delivers more initiates into the hands of the Silent Lord than any other. The wheel teaches us that the Silent Lord chooses at his pleasure, not ours. We are subject to whims and chance. Death is random. How does the wheel work? The wheel is made of alternating white and black squares. If the pointer stops on the white square, we move on to the final initiation. If it stops on the black square, we are slain on the spot. When I began the initiation, there were 6 of us seeking to enter the order. 2 died on the torture racks. One was captured after murdering a wealthy elderly merchant and hung. That left 3 of us to face the wheel. I alone survived to face the final challenge. What was the final challenge? That I'm not yet ready to share with you, for I have not yet completed it. But I thought you were a member of the order already. I am a monk of the long death. The final challenge is necessary only if I ever wish to enter the inner circle of my order. I want to ask you for aid in this, but this challenge is sacred to the order, despite all you've done. I'm not yet certain you are ready to learn of our most hallowed secret. Were I back at the monastery, I could consult with the elders, but in absence I can only wait and see if some sign is delivered to me. Only if I receive this sign will I be able to tell you of the final challenge. Perhaps I will speak more of this, but now is not the time. You are not yet ready. Let us return to our mission, for in doing so, we will surely spread death throughout the north.
Is there something?
Continue your story. I have been waiting for guidance from the Silent Lord before I discuss this matter with you, but I realize now what a fool I was. You are a tool of the Silent Lord. You enact his will upon the world, spreading death everywhere you go. The Silent Lord has brought us together for a reason. You are here to aid me in this challenge. The very fact that you are here is proof the Silent Lord wants me to ask for your help in this task. Okay, what task? I must assassinate one of the Inner Circle's members. Only by delivering one of their number into the Silent Lord's hands am I worthy to join them. There is a catch. It is forbidden for one of my order to slay one of the Inner Circle unless we use a weapon blessed by the Inner Circle themselves. Why would they bless a weapon just so someone else can use it to kill them? You forget we do not fear death. Custom exists to ensure that when one of the Inner Circle is slain, it is by a monk who has been proved worthy of the honor. When one of the Order joins the Inner Circle, they must bless a weapon that may be used to deliver them to the Silent Lord. They then take the weapon and secret it away in place of great danger. Finding one of the blessed weapons requires luck, skill, and fate. In fact, we believe only the guiding hand of the Silent Lord will deliver a blessed weapon in the possession of one of our Order. Okay, so you want me to find this weapon for you. At first I feared enlisting your aid would be sacrilegious. However, now I realize that you're a tool of the Silent Lord. You're here specifically to find me one of these blessed weapons. How will I recognize one of these blessed weapons? The sacred weapons are all emblazoned with the symbol of my order, the outstretched hands of the Silent Lord, reaching to claim us all. Do not fear. As long as you seek the words of power, I shall serve you, and in serving you, I serve the will of the Silent Lord. If I am meant to find one of the sacred weapons, it will be in your service as you continue to carve out your blood-steeped legend. Okay, I have a dagger here with a skeletal hand on it. Is this one of the blessed weapons? Yes, this is the mark of my order. Wait, I fell? I smell a faint aura emanating from the blade. Yes, this is one of the weapons blessed by the Inner Circle. Once more, you've proved yourself an agent of my master. I bestow upon you this talisman, a gift normally reserved only for those of my order. Thank you for this reward, the talisman has powerful magical properties bestowed by my order. Its power is not to be underestimated. Okay, what are you going to do now, Grimnock? The dagger is only the beginning for me. I now have the ability for the right to deliver one of the inner circle to the Silent Lord. If the inner circle are among the most powerful of my order, and if I'm to defeat one of them, I must become a master of all I have learned. Once I feel I am worthy, I will challenge one of the inner circle to battle to the death, but of course all this must wait. Wait for what? For your task here is not yet done. You still seek the words of power, and in doing so, you'll bring death and destruction to your foes. It's been an honor to serve you, and I will not abandon you until your task is done. Yeah, let's take a look at the end. Here it is. Amulet of the Silent Lord. Constitution 4. You know, not that big of a deal. It does have spell resistance. It's not like the best thing in the world, but it's nice to have it in the collection. Yeah. So now Lenu.
My dear friend, it warms my heart to see your face again. Erengend must have brought you here to help search for the words of power.
Good to see you again, Lenu Lenero. I gotta blow my nose. Okay, after Ereba's betrayal, I readied myself for a return to Adoreska, yet somewhere deep inside I heard that we would meet once again. Once I heard of Erengen's call for brave adventurers to serve the cause of Neverwinter to join the Lord's Alliance here at Faerun as well, I knew that you could not resist such a grand opportunity. If you're drawn to heroic deeds like a glutton to a bakery, I grabbed the first ride out of town and came here. Well, the second ride actually got me here. Okay, I would love to have you travel with me again, Lenu. And I shall endeavor to keep you alive once again. Just try occasionally to keep out of harm's way. Sometimes I think you're as bad as I am for getting into trouble.
Hey there,
Yeah, let's
dear.
level her out. She's got blue on. Now she's got like silver and green. That's cool.
Follow me, now.
All right, dear. I'm getting to it.
She's got 28 AC. That's actually not too bad. Like, she's gotten a lot stronger since the last time I've seen her. But still only 2 attacks. That's one of the problems with Cleric. And we have no control over her spells. That's kind of a detriment, really. Like, having spellcasters that you can't control kind of sucks. She's okay. Not the best, though.
Hey there, dear. What can I do for you?
I just want to talk for a while. I love chatting with you, but don't you think we should focus on your mission right now? What made you decide that you should be a cleric? Well, it's been a long time since someone asked me that question. I came to Sayani Moonbow when I was first young, which is unusual since my parents were both mages and followers of the god Karalok. I started when I was sent to Gaidelin Centristi's School for Potentials. You see, both my parents were deep into the mysteries and held positions of respect. It was assumed that I would take after my parents in the magical arts. But what are potentials? All children of gifted wizards in Everesk are sent to special schools as potentials because they are expected to excel in furthering the art of spellcraft. My ability to get into trouble had already started by that age, but my parents had kept it quiet, thinking I would grow out of it. Okay, go on. My first day of classes was a disaster, but I don't think it had anything to do with my ability for spellcasting. I had an insatiable curiosity, and Gaidelin was a crotchety old master who expected all elven children to be patient, quiet, and orderly. I barely possess those traits now, let alone when I was a child. The master decided to open class with a powerful spell to awe us into submission to his tutelage. He turned his back, and I moved in. What do you mean by moved in? I just want to look at the spell components. They're very interesting, especially the wonderful gem he had sitting inside the circle. Well, he went to reach for the gem, and it wasn't there. The spell misfired, causing him to ooze purple smoke for weeks. So he kicked you out? Gaidelin was well paid for training us. He didn't kick me out right away, but he never forgave me either. It also wasn't the only accident to befall the class when I was around. Despite all of this, I might still have become a wizardess if it wasn't for the little trip I took. That was an accident that will long be remembered in our fair city. My fate became sealed to my faith in Sayani that day. What fate would that be? I'll have to tell you my dimension hopping trip later. We have too much to do right now to tell that tale. We need to find the words of power for Erengend if we are to save Neverwinter. Yeah, I've had a plane traveling adventure before. But I've already rambled too much. I had 2 people watching me, and they stopped watching once I started talking about war. Yeah, now I know better. But, you know, I felt like talking, and I did, and you didn't want to listen to that part, so now I know not to talk about that stuff anymore. That simple.
Hey there, dear.
I'm gonna go to
What
the
can I
bathroom,
do
and then
for
I'll be
you?
back. Okay, continue your story from before. Suppose you won't rest until I tell you about the accident that led to my becoming a cleric of Sayanine. I guess I can tell you, though, it was a horrifying experience. I want to hear. It was just over a month into our training when Galen decided to let us examine some of his collection of magical artifacts. He took us into his vault, the part where the lurid magic items were stored. We played with them for a while, but I was bored. That's trouble. Bored children with magic items? I should say that's trouble. Being from a wizard's home, most of us had seen items like these quite a few times. I was hardly going to be impressed by a wand of magic missiles. I noticed that one of the doors had been left open, so I thought I would have a quick peek inside. I didn't mean to touch anything, but two of the other students came in behind me. None of them asked what I was doing. His voice scared me, causing me to jump into the air, but I didn't land on the floor. I didn't see the rope that was hung to keep people away from this one display. The hole I fell into was a doorway into another plane of existence, or at least that's what they told me later. According to Galen, no person, let alone a child, should have survived the experience. So how did you survive? All I know is my body seemed to expand and contract at a horribly fast rate, like a hyperventilating toad. The feeling seemed to last for hours, but it was over in seconds. I can't explain it any better than that. When it stopped, I opened my eyes. What did you see? There was a large gray squishy thing that looked at me with 20 large eyes. I whimpered a little, I remember that. Then it started to move. I don't think I've ever seen anything move so very fast. I screamed as it attacked and continued to scream as a bolt of glowing blue light ripped through his body just seconds before it could reach me. I sat on the ground, trembling uncontrollably, arms enveloped my quaking form, and a soft voice whispered words in my ear. What did the voice say? I can only recall images of journeys and safety, of life and death, and of times to come. As the voice spoke, I began to feel very tired, and I drifted off to sleep. When I awoke, I was in a comfortable bed surrounded by a curtain that stretched up to the ceiling, and I could hear a man and a woman's voice talking softly beyond it. The voices were suddenly interrupted by the entrance of my master, who angrily asked why I was taken to the temple of Sayanid. A single word from the woman stopped me cold. What did she say? All she said was his name. He looked at her with a piercing stare, then his eyes opened in surprise and he sank to his knees. I was confused, having no idea who was standing by my bed. The only word my master could speak was her name, Sayanid. Wait, you were rescued by a goddess? The goddess came over and pulled the curtain back. She smiled and kissed me on the forehead. My child, she said, you have exceeded the boundaries of luck. Green light surrounded her body as she stepped back and disappeared. For years after that experience, people treated me with awe and called me the godchild. Sayanid did me a favor, but there were days when I wished she could have done it quieter. That does seem to stretch the limits of luck. Such is my life, bad and good luck in heaping amounts, like a gift of gold that crushes you under its weight. I have dedicated my life to the goddess. She gave me that gift, so I gave everything back to her. There's a task that she wishes me to accomplish, and that's why she chose to save my life. I overheard a few of the words she shared with the high priest before my master came in the room. That is a task for me and should not be allowed to interfere with your quest. We have too much to do right now to tell that tale. We need to find the words of power for Aaron Gend if we are to save Neverwinter. Okay.
Hey there, dear. What can I do for you?
Okay. Continue your story from before. You are my truest friend in the world. I know that we must work together to accomplish all of our quests. I told you that I overheard Sayanid Mumbo speaking with the head cleric of her order. The words that I heard would echo in my mind for the rest of my life. Tell me what she said. She told the elderly cleric that during her wanderings through the world, she had come upon a forest of breathtaking oak trees that grew in the middle of a range of volcanoes. While she stood in contemplation and admiration of the oak, one of the volcanoes erupted. The lava streamed down the mountain, burning its way through every form of life in its path. What happened? The lava reached the edge of the forest and destroyed every single tree. This saddened Sayanine, but as she prepared to move away, she noticed something very unusual. The seeds of the tree were floating on top of the lava. Floating? They didn't burn up. When the lava cooled, the seeds broke open and small shoots came out of the shells to take root in the newly formed crust of earth. Within weeks, the forest had renewed itself and the oak trees stood tall, defiant of the surrounding volcanoes and their fiery destruction. That's amazing. Sayanine was so smitten with the majesty of those trees that she made her favorite weapon from one of the bows. Sayanine left the forest, returning occasionally to enjoy the splendor of their beauty. One day she returned to find that the trees had disappeared. Not a single seed remained, which made her weep. What happened to them? Sayanine didn't know what had happened. She had been gone for several centuries, and there was no trace of the mighty volcanic oak trees left. This is my task, dear one. Sayanine thinks it's possible that one day an elf priestess will find a seed of the volcanic oak and bring it to Everesca to be a symbol of rebirth for the elven people. With this symbol, as the oak is reborn through fiery death, our people might be rekindled in spirit. Though we might face adversity, I must find this seed, though I know not where one might exist. That's all there is to tell. I shall defend your life with my own until the day that Neverwinter is safe again. Someday fate might guide them to the sea. Might guide me to the sea. The goddess has led me here to be here with you. With your help, I've recovered the chalice of Mundo and found my husband's journal. You are my guide to restoring the volcanic oak to rebuild my people. I have an unusual seed right here. Is this it? Yes, that's the seed the goddess described. I'm sure of it. Oh, you've done it. There's nothing I could give you that could equal the gift you've given to the people of Everesca. You've proven that you're the best of friends to the elven people. I think you shall find that the pendant I gave you is much stronger than before. Thank you for unlocking its full power, Linu. You have unlocked the strongest magics of the pendant. Jendar, a human, proved the depths of his friendship to the elves years ago, and the pendant blessed him with quicker reflexes than most elves have. What will you do with the seed now, Linu? I'll take the seed back to Everesca, where a place will be prepared for a whole forest of these oaks to grow. The elven population has been withdrawing from the larger population of Faerun at too quick a rate. Perhaps with this symbol and the elven god's blessing, we can begin to replenish ourselves. The coming years will be an upheaval in elven society. If we're going to integrate ourselves more, then we'll need strong leadership. Who will step up and assume that role? I have no idea. What about you? I don't really think I have the qualities necessary for leadership. I would be content with a place in church, maybe build a new temple somewhere in human lands, and lend support to elves who come out of seclusion. Whatever role I am given, with Sayanine to guide me, I shall endeavor to do what is best for my people and for the other people of this world. Though I know there's much to do in Everesca, I'm in no rush to leave your side. As long as we have work to do and you have a place for me, I shall remain with you, loyal to the end. Okay, amulet. Let's check out the amulet. Pendant of the Elf. So immunity to mind-affecting spells, that's pretty strong. But I have a helmet that does that, so it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so one last one, Charlotte.
Somehow I knew you couldn't be far. As soon as Aaron Gend mentioned why we were brought here, I began wondering when you would pop up.
Good to see you again, Sharwin. Did I say it was good to see you? I only said I knew you'd come. Haha. I only jest. Of course it's good that you're here. I wasn't going to come to Faerun as well originally. I figured I had done enough by your side, but the story isn't finished just yet, is it? And you know what a sucker I am for a good tale. So what do you say then? Shall we join together again? I want to see this unfold firsthand. Yeah, I would be honored to have you join up with me again, Sharwin. I'm at your disposal once again. Okay, let's level her up. She's got a cool outfit. Nice cloak.
Follow me, now.
Fair enough.
Yeah, let's save.
Yes?
Yeah, check her character sheet. And everyone's got really high hit points. It's impressed. Spell immunity. Let's see your melee stats. Use your melee weapon. Oh, whatever. No big deal.
Yes? Is there something you need?
Okay. How about telling me a tale, Sharwin? You are a bard after all. I normally save my best tales for taverns with a full audience. Why should I recount a tale only for you? Because I asked nicely? Oh, so you put on a pleasant tone and I'm supposed to jump to please you, is that it? Charlie Door puts on a pleasant tone and I'm supposed to jump to please him, is that it? Haha. I'll tell you what, I'll tell you your tale if you promise to listen attentively and be a proper audience. I can do that. Well, that's good. I'll hold you to it then. But what story should I tell then? Shall I tell you a great tale of the great Darrow, savior of Neverwinter, and his search for the words of power? I think I know that one. Not like I tell it, believe me. You're probably right, however. The subject matter would be a bit familiar, and I am a bit fuzzy on the ending. How about the sad tale of the great Lady Erebeth, torn between love and honor, falling from the grace of Tyr? I've heard the ending. That's true, isn't it? Too bad. Hers is a sad tale that itches to be told. Let's see, I'll think of something else. How about the tale of the great Lord Nasher, how the man was in his glory days before he became a sad old ruler? How about something original? Well, you're going to be very picky, aren't you? Very well. Give me some time to think about it. For now, let's continue with making up your own tale.
Yes? Is there something you need?
Okay, continue your story from before. Alright, I thought about which story to tell you. It's an old one, the story of Tamerlane and the Song of Love. Sounds promising. So happy you approve. Now, since you promised to be a good audience, be quiet for once. Tamerlane was an elven bard, one of the most talented and famous from an age ago. At the peak of his life, he was happily married with numerous children, yet still he felt he had left something undone. He bid his children a tearful farewell one day, hugging his faithful wife close to his breast, and promised to return as he began the greatest quest of his long life. For decades, he searched for Hanali Selenil, the elven goddess of love. He called to her from her temples, walked the fields of Arvindor, serenaded her from the highest mountain tops. Just when he thought he could search no more, and his thoughts turned to his long-lost wife and children, Hanali Selenil came to him at long last. She was the most beautiful of elves, her eyes warm and clad in a gown of silver and gold. Thou hast sought me out, she spoke, and I have come. What dost thou desire of me? Tamerlane was almost overcome by her beauty, but still he spoke. Hanali Selenil, also called Lady Goldheart, the winsome rose, the mother of sadness, I wish a boon. I desire to know the true meaning of love, so that I may write a song to stir the hearts of mortal and immortal alike. Would you grant me this boon? The goddess that thought on his offer and smiled. I am the three who are one, child. Perform a task for each of us, and you shall know the true meaning of love and be rewarded. Three who are one? Yes, the queen of Arvindor is the elven goddess Angarad. But she is commonly thought of as three goddesses, three aspects who together are one, the triune. One, of course, is Hanali Selenil, goddess of love and the gold elves. One is Airdrie Faena, goddess of the sky and the wing of Ariel. The third is Seni Numbo, goddess of dreams and the moon elves. Tamerlane readily agreed to perform the tasks, of course. That, however, I'll tell you another time, seeing as you interrupted him all. Alright, let's go. Good enough. I can tell the rest of the tale when we get a chance later.
Yes? Is there something you need?
Okay, continue your story from before. Okay, fair enough. I think I remember how the rest of it goes now. I told you that Tamerlane had agreed to do a task for each of the Triune, correct? The first task was for Airdrie Faena. He was to retrieve the feather of the largest phoenix to fly the skies of the deep southern lands. For many long years, Tamerlane would scour the highest peaks of Turmish and Cronuth, following the legends of the great birds, yet never spotting them. A century of hardship would pass. Finally, Tamerlane would return to that northern mountain, ragged but triumphantly holding the pinion feather of a great phoenix. For Seni Mumbo, he would seek out remnants of each of our 3 moons that had fallen to the ground in a blaze of fire. Another century he would spend in search of them, long buried, long forgotten, and scattered. Finally, with tears in his eyes, he returned with the 3 rock shards in his hands. For Hanali Selenil, he would seek the golden heart of the dragon, dead of simple age. Okay. One of the rarest things someone could seek. He wailed at the thought, but was determined. For centuries he wandered, followed rumor after rumor, until finally he came to the northern lands when he heard of a wizened worm breathing his last. Tamerlane spent many years finding the creature and then befriending him, singing to the aged dragon as he weakened slowly through the decades. When at last the great beast passed, Tamerlane was saddened, but also overjoyed that at last his quest was at an end. Before Tamerlane could return to the goddess, however, he was found by one of his own people. He was told the sad news that his beloved wife and children had died of a terrible illness during his absence. Torn by the news, Tamerlane wept and railed with anger at the goddess who had kept him from his family for so long. She did not answer. Tamerlane poured his grief and his pain and his loss into a song. Since he could not sing of love, he would sing of this, sing of all that he had missed, and this is what he sang to the goddess. Finally, Hanali Senelil came with tears flowing from her golden eyes. You understand at last the meaning of love, child, she said. As I promise, you shall be rewarded. With that, she lifted Tamerlane up through the gates of Arvindor to join his wife and children, to spend eternity with them in paradise. And that is the end. That is a beautiful story. Thank you, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Why did you tell me that story, by the way? Well, I don't know how much of that legend might be true, but I know there's some truth to it. There really was an elven bard named Tamerlane, and he really did die in this region. Supposedly he did write a song before he died, or so the rumors say. He was one of the greatest bards that ever lived. That song would have to be a masterpiece. To get my hands on it, to have a chance to sing it, to bring it back to the world, that would be everything. What about this? Is this the song you're talking about? It's written in Elven, and the notes are, oh my, that's Tamerlane's signature. This is it. This is it. How did you ever find it? Ride or die, henchman. Achievement. You secured 6 lifelong henchmen for the low price of 3 priceless presents. Yeah. Alright, got all of the achievements for henchmen. I don't know if they have things in the next chapter or not. It's lovely. He truly was a master. I almost thought it was a fairy tale, that it couldn't be true, but it is, isn't it? What are you going to do with it? I'm not sure. I want to sing it. I want to spread it just like Tamerlane intended it to be, I think. Perhaps I'll sing it to the elves first, who knows? I'm not sure I can ever repay you for this gift. I hope my friendship will be enough. Your friendship is repayment enough, Charlene. Thank you. I want you to know that I have no intention of running out on you. The song can wait. Your mission comes first. Let's go and end this, then. And find your words of power. The end of our great tale awaits us. Alright.
I figured.
Both of the performer plus 5. Alright. So, that's all I got time for today. Thanks to everyone who came out to check it out, even though there wasn't really any gameplay. And listen to me rant. But, yeah. So, next time I play this, we'll be getting to the finale, and then we'll be on to Act 4. So, yeah, thanks for watching.